Every voice has a story, so I hit the streets of Atlanta to capture the voices that I meet along the way. In this conversation, Hugo talked about his time in the military, lessons from his father, and the reflective beauty of a cemetery. This conversation reminds me of a quote from Carlos Ruiz Zafon, which says that all true stories begin and end in a cemetery.
What's your name?
Hugo.
Right.
Hugo.
Hugo.
Right, named after the 87-88 hurricane that passed through South Carolina and the southeast here back in 87-88.
Oh, really?
I think it was 87.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Are you from South Carolina now?
Originally from South Carolina. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Nice.
What's your favorite memory growing up in South Carolina?
Oh, favorite memory. Let's see. I guess it was growing up in the church there. We were in the Boy Scouts, and we attained, both my brother and I attained Eagle rank, which is the highest rank in Boy Scouts, and that was done through the church.
Oh, nice. What's the best lesson you learned in Boy Scout?
Lessons? Well, be truthful, trustworthy, and be considerate and compassionate of others.
How did they teach those lessons?
Well, that was just kind of the building foundation for my brother and I, and once we graduated from high school, then he and I both went into the military. I spent a long career in the military. He did not, but we all eventually finished up with our colleges and pursued, in my case, the military as my lifelong career.
Which branch of the military?
The Army.
The Army?
Right.
Oh, were you an infantryman or something like that?
I guess I'd call myself a communicator.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, in the signal side of the house or communication side of the house.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So do you know Morse code? Do you have to learn Morse code?
Well, believe it or not, way back then we were taught a little bit of Morse code, but you don't use that much anymore. But some other countries still use it. The ships use a form of Morse code, but it's with the signal lights. They still use that today because it's difficult to see. It's when the fog and inclement conditions come in, you can see lights better than voice, I guess you'd call it.
If you could give a credit or thanks to one person in your life that you don't give enough credit or thanks to, who would that be?
It'd be to my father. He got us set straight through some trials and tribulations as teenagers, both my brother and I, since we were very close and we were only separated by 14 months in difference. So if we got into trouble, we usually got into trouble ourselves, both, but generally it was Dad.
Oh, okay.
How did he influence you in a way?
Well, he said to always speak the truth.
Okay.
And integrity is a big factor. Once you, trying to think. Once you betray that trust, then it's hard to get it back. So truth is the best policy, regardless if it hurts or not, instead of trying to sugarcoat it.
That's good. Did he teach you that through any example?
Well, he was a teacher.
Okay.
And we three children went to high school where he taught, and we kind of had to be on our best behavior with other teachers because the behavior factor would get back to him.
Right away.
Yes, and it did happen a couple of times.
Okay. Oh, really? What did you do?
Lied on exams.
Oh, really?
And not telling the truth on them. That's what it was.
So what did he say after that?
I guess he said there's always someone out there that's going to understand what you're doing, especially when you're trying to hide it.
Oh, yeah.
And so he said honesty is the best policy, so kind of lived that way through, and being in the military and going through a number of leadership courses over the years, it's reinforced many times over, especially when you had soldiers you had to take care of. So, huffing and puffing here.
Yeah, and I mean they need to trust you as well, right? Because if you don't tell the truth, they would know it right away.
Yeah, they generally will, and always set the example.
What's the hardest part of being a leader?
Hardest part is being truthful and setting the word out, whether it's they want to hear it or not, and then you explain to it why it's more negative than positive, and then the feedback comes back.
Yeah, speaking of military, were you in Vietnam during the Vietnam War then?
Oh yeah. Vietnam War was, what is it, 1960, very late 50s, really, to 1975 when it would officially ended.
Yeah.
So, but one thing I enjoyed by being in the military was seeing various countries around the world and getting to learn other people's cultures. And one of the biggest things I enjoyed doing was enjoying the food of the various countries. Oh yeah, that's a part of it.
What is the one thing that you were very afraid doing, but you did it anyway?
Well, I guess it was obeying orders that you didn't think was right at the time, but you still had no choice but to obey orders. And I guess a number of them was in Vietnam, when you were told to do certain things and you didn't want to do them, but you had to do it. And not necessarily always fighting, but when you're back in home base, the problems with other soldiers not acting right, and because back then drugs, alcohol was very prevalent in the military.
Okay.
And so you had to watch out for those individuals, that, especially with drugs, because once you get hooked on them, or once you're caught with them, then you're fined, or either you're kicked out. So, but that's changed so much over the last, I would say, 40, 45 years.
Was there a moment in your life that you felt that you were lost?
Lost? I guess it was, I was stationed in Ethiopia, one of these Cold War listening posts. Back then, listening communications from the Russians.
Yeah.
And you're out there kind of amongst a small group, and even though you had a lot of equipment to work with, people would sometimes do things to you that you didn't like, but it's kind of along the points of hazing.
Oh, yeah.
But it's a little bit more serious than that.
So the hazing is from your fellow...
Yeah, fellow soldiers. But it was kind of in fun and jest, but to the individual that wasn't.
Yeah, that's right. But when you say you were, so that make you feel lost? Is it because you feel like they don't, you can't trust them?
Yeah, you were below them, even though you were the same ranks. But if you went to tell or squeal to your immediate supervisors, then you never, snitch. That's right. Now, Shoe, right?
Yeah.
You come here often out here?
The cemetery here?
Yeah.
Not that often. Once in a while.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I really like this place. Yeah.
This is a reflective area that I kind of walk here from time to time, just kind of getting out of the stressful environment. Or I call these walks stress walks, so I can work off my stress, literally, because my wife has many medical problems. So I get away and I walk it out. But being in the cemetery here, just like most cemeteries, I've been to Arlington National Cemetery, seeing people there over the years. It's very quiet, very serene, and just peaceful.
Yeah.
And one thing all these cemeteries seem to have are birds, regardless if there's trees or not around. So, and here, it's very conducive for the wildlife population, particularly the birds, and you see the ground squirrels and chipmunks and various big birds of prey, which occasionally you see flying around here.
Yeah. I know. I'm surprising like how beautiful a cemetery could be, because before I visit a cemetery, I always think, oh, it's a place of death, right? Why would you want to go there?
Yeah.
But when I visit Decatur Cemetery and the other one, Oling, I was like, oh wow,
Yeah, sure.
these are beautiful, very serene.
And you may not know this part of the cemetery, from a small road down here, up here is the old part of the cemetery.
Oh.
This is where there's grave sites that go back to the Revolutionary War.
Wow.
Yeah, go way back there. You can see them all there. And
So, what is the saddest moment of your life?
the saddest moment?
Yeah.
Well, there's two of them. When my father particularly was an invalid due to strokes his last 12 years of life. So he died when he was, I think, 74.
Oh wow.
Yeah, pretty young.
Yeah.
And because he meant a lot to us in many ways, like I've already explained. And then Mom died just a couple days shy of her 93rd birthday. So longevity on my mom's side is definitely in the genes. And she was ready for the good Lord to come and take her. And then a couple of my closest friends in Vietnam never came home. So those are sad days there, and we still remember them certain days, like Memorial Day coming up here in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Or Veterans Day, that was back in November.
Yeah.
What's the happiest moment of your life?
I guess the birth of our children, besides getting married, those are the happiest days. I had two children born in Korea, and then another one born in Texas, all while I was in the military, of course.
Well, since we are in a cemetery, right? So, thinking about that, how would you write, if you write your own obituary, how would you do that? What would you write about?
I'd try to sum it up in the fewest words as possible, but I haven't thought about it because, let me see, sum it up. kind, generous, well-liked, father, grandpa, those are probably it in that area.
All right. Now, last question, the real last question. If you can put a word or message on a billboard for millions of people to see, what would that be?
In today's age, I'm trying to think how to phrase it because I got something in mind. Honesty and truth is the best policy. I'll leave it just like that. Because the way it is in the government anymore, you say representatives will say one thing and then turn around literally about face and say something opposite of what they just said, days, weeks, or months earlier. So honesty and truth is the best policy.
Simple and straightforward. I like it. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
I wish you good luck. Okay.